Okay, youth allowance. So youth allowance is the allowance that the government pays to students doing full-time study or apprentices. The amount that you get paid varies quite a lot depending on your age, depending on whether you're living at home or away, and whether you're single or a member of a couple. And so you can see in this table that shows the maximum fortnightly payment that you can get. Now again, like the pensions, this is subject to an income test and an asset test, and it's actually subject to both your income and assets and your parents' income and assets, depending on whether or not you're deemed to be dependent on your parents or independent of your parents. And that depends on how much income you've earned in the past and how far away you live from the place you study and that sort of thing. So we're not going to get too bogged down in all of those sorts of things, but we're going to certainly use these maximum rates, and then there'll be a deduction. We're going to assume in all of our questions that you do pass the assets test for both yourself and your parents, and the only thing that's going to matter is going to be the income that you earn. Now, the income that you can earn, you can see from this table, basically up to $427 will not affect your payments. These rates have actually changed slightly. This was printed in 2015, but we'll run with these rates because that's what's in our book. They're not a lot different, but this is roughly what it's going to be. Anyhow, so for our questions, up to $427 per fortnight will not affect your payment. However, if you earn between $427 and $512 per fortnight, then you'll lose 50 cents in each dollar over that range. If you did that calculation, so if I went 512 take away the 427, so if I earned more than 512, for that particular income band, if I times that by the 50 cents, what I would get is that $42.50, which is in this table. So that's where that amount has come from. If you earn over the 512, that is why you're going to then lose that $42.50 automatically. That $42.50's come from that previous earnings up here. And then you'll also lose 60 cents for every dollar over the 512. So, now before I go into the formula, so I have tried to create a sort of a summary formula that will encapsulate all of that in that one process. You don't have to show you're working like I have in my formula. You can calculate your income separately and then calculate your deductions separately, and then get your maximum, take away your deductions. I don't care how you show it as long as it's methodical, and I can see where your calculations have come from. Don't give me a one number answer, because if you blow something you'll lose the whole lot of your marks. Now the other thing you need to pay attention to in a lot of these questions is that income bank balance concept. That's the same as it was in pension. So you're allowed to earn up to $427 without affecting your payment. If you don't use that credit, if you like, then that credit that you don't use gets banked. So if I earn nothing, my income bank balance would go up by $427 per fortnight, up to a maximum of $10,300 for students, or $1,000 if I was an apprentice. If let's say I earned $100 per fortnight, then my income balance would go up by that $327 per fortnight. So whatever you don't use of that credit gets banked up into that $10,300 total. And that means that if your earnings are a little bit more sporadic, like you might, for example, a lot of us living in the rural areas, we may not work while we're in Perth, but then we might come home and do harvest or whatever. So if you earn your income in lump sums here and there, then basically you won't be penalised for that. Now, the formula that I have sort of suggested, and as I say, you don't have to show you're working this way, but this is what I've done. I've basically, each time to work out my allowance, I've gotten my maximum payment, which is my payment from this first table. And then I subtract, if I've earned less than 512 for the fortnight, then I get the income that I have earned. I subtract whatever income balance I've got, because that will reduce how much I have to claim against. Then I take away the $427 that I'm allowed to earn without affecting, and any of those dollars over, which is what that bracket will now give me, I then times that by the 0.5, which is 50 cents basically. So that's basically, my 50 cents in a dollar. And that's going to give me my allowance. Do pay super attention to BIMDAS here. If you mess up your brackets, you're going to wind up, and you can see here I'm missing one, because you can see here I've opened, and that's because I deleted things earlier. I've got one set of brackets here, and I've got another closing bracket and not an opening one. So I would actually need another bracket in here. Do watch your BIMDAS, because otherwise you'll get some tragic errors despite the fact that you might have followed the process. If you earn more than 512, then you're going to move to this second formula, and basically there you're going to get your maximum payment again, but now you're taking away that 4250, which is that from that first band, and then also taking away. So I've put a plus in here because I've bracketed all of this. And so that plus means effectively I'm going to be subtracting this. It sounds complicated, but it's not, because basically this takeaway is I'm taking away that entire bracket. So watch those little things, make sure you understand what I've done. So basically then I'm going to get my income, take away the income bank balance again, but now I'm taking away 512 because I'm in that bracket, and then I'm timesing any of that amount by my 60% or my 60 cents in each dollar. Okay, so that's the formula I'm going to use. We'll do an example to put that into perspective, and hopefully that will clear this up. So let's look at this one. Jennifer is single, so we need to get our highlighters and keep an eye on the key things so we can look it up on the table. She's single, she's 18, and she's living at home. So if we looked at the table, single, no children, 18, and she's not living away, so she's single, 18, living at home. So her maximum amount is going to be that 281. So that would be our first answer. So she's going to get, oopsies, $281 per fortnight. Now, if she then gets a part-time employment, earning $300 a week, and she has an income bank balance of $50, how will this part-time employment affect her government allowance and her income bank balance? It doesn't say for this one period, but it obviously is because we're only referring to that one little change there. So for her, her maximum was 281, and then we're going to take away her deduction. Now, she is going to be, even with the 300, take away the 50, because she can basically claim that credit. So she's going to be down, well, two things to watch. First of all, this 300 is per week. So she's actually earned 600 for the fortnight, and we're always considering fortnightly income, so watch that track. 600 take away the 50 gives me an income of 550. So she has exceeded that 512 band here. So she's going to be applying this losing $42.50 and an extra 60 cents for each dollar over the 512. So when we come to work this out, she would have the 281, which is her full payment if she was able to get it. Take away the 42.50 that she's definitely lost, and plus she's also lost, and that's being accounted for with that negative in front of the bracket there. Plus she's also lost her, I'm going to put it in full to show you. So the 600 that she earned, take away the 50, which was her credit, so we won't count that bit. Take away the 512, which is that cut off for that band, and she loses 60 cents for each of those. So putting all that in a bracket. The bracket itself is the deduction. So if you showed this separately, you can calculate the deduction separately first, and you would have got a deduction of $65.30. So the 281, take away the $65.30, would have given you an allowance of $215.70. Now the second part of this question also asked how would it affect her income bank balance? Well, we've now used the whole of that $50 that she did have in credit. We've used that up here. So her balance now would be equal to 0. Okay. C said, what was the minimum income bank balance that she would have needed to ensure that her allowance was not affected? So for her allowance to not be affected, then basically when we did this part of the process, we wanted all this to equal to the 427 that she's allowed to earn. So effectively what we're asking ourselves, well, $600 that she had, take away what bank balance would have given me an income of 427. I could have gone for something less than that, but that, you know, I only needed to hit that 427 for it not to affect my payment. If you're in your class pad at this point, you can type that in and go highlight, interactive, advanced, solve when you're finished. If you weren't, then you'd have to do a tiny bit of algebra to get x on its own, and we don't want negative x, we want a positive x. So I'm going to move the x to the other side of my equal sign. My 600 would be staying where it is, and my 427 would need to move to the other side. So it was positive, so when I shift it, sorry, I've lent on my page there. When I shift it, it would become a negative 427, and that would give me an answer of x is equal to $173. Okay, the next question that I was going to do that also applied to youth allowance was question 8. So let's have a look at this. So question 8, Megan, she's 22, she's living with a husband and a son, so she has children, and she's in full-time study. So if we went up to our table, she's over 18, she's in a couple, and she has got children. So she would be entitled to $468.70. So if we go back to that question, Megan would be entitled to $468.70 if she got the full payment. Now, if Megan earns $500 in a fortnight and has zero income bank balance, determine her government assistance entitlement and her income bank balance for this fortnight. So her full entitlement of $468.70 is certainly going to come down because she's exceeded the $427, and she has zero bank income at the moment. So basically, we can proceed straight to our calculations. Now at $500 for the fortnight, you can see that she is going to be in this first band here. So she is going to be in between 427 and 512. So she's just going to lose 50 cents in the dollar for each of those dollars over. So for her, we're going to go take away the 500 that she's earned. She didn't have an income balance, so normally we go take away whatever balance she had, but she had zero, so there's nothing to take. So we're just going to take away the 427 that she's allowed to earn without affecting it. And for each of those dollars, she'd lose 50 cents. So we'd then times that by the 50 cents, and that would tell me that her final payment would be $432.20. And her balance would still be at zero because she's basically used the full credit up here, and so it won't increase her balance, and she had none to begin with, so it hasn't decreased it either. Okay, let's go on to C. So in C, it says Megan earns, in this scenario, Megan's now earning $800 in a fortnight, but she has an income balance in this for this question of $200. So the $800 take away the $200 means we're going to be applying an income of $600. So again, if we were to look at that income table, you can see she's going to be in this second band this time. She's going to be over the 512. So what she's going to lose is this $42.50 and then an extra 60 cents for each dollar over the 512. So that's the formula that we're going to be plugging into now. So what would her allowance be? Well, her full allowance, if she'd gotten it, would be $468.70, and then we're going to take away. She's certainly going to lose that initial $42, I think. No. So take away the $42.50, that's a given, and plus she's also going to lose 60 cents in the dollar for each dollar over that 512. So 800 was her income. Take away the 200 credit that she's already got, and then take away the $512, which was the cutoff for that threshold. All of that's going to be times by 60 cents, and that would give us a final payment of $373.40 for that fortnight. Now, her income bank balance after this will be zero because she did have an income bank balance of 200, and we've used the whole of that 200 up here. So we would then have that balance would be equal to zero. Write it in full. I'm being brief to speed us along. So it's the income bank balance of zero. In D, we're now assuming that Megan has an income bank balance of 200 and she earns 580 during the fortnight. So again, we're going to go 580, take the 200. So that's going to bring us down to 380. And that's going to be in that first bracket, if my memory serves me right. Yes, actually it's 380, did I say 3? So I think we're going to be not affected at all. Got a 2-second memory span, so let me check those numbers again. Yes, so at 380, that she in fact won't have her income affected at all. So for that particular month, she would earn the full payment of $468.70, and her income bank balance will be affected. So in this case, she's going to have the 400. Her bank balance will increase. So the 427 take away the 380 that we're now going means that her balance will go up by $47 that she hasn't used up. So her balance now will be 47. Yes, sorry, we did use, I'm not explaining that very well. We did use up that 200 to create the 380, but she was still got some left because she hasn't used the whole lot. So 47 would now be her balance. I might actually stop there. I think you get the gist, and my voice is sort of disappearing a bit on me, but you go through that same process. So in that next one, you can see that she's now got a balance of 100 and she earns 150 during the fortnight. So that brings her balance down to 50. So again, she'd get the full payment and her bank balance is going to go up again. So she already had 100. I'll do this one very quickly. So she already had 100 in her balance, and then plus now she'll get the extra bit that she hasn't used for. So of the 427 that she's entitled to, she's only going to use 150 of that. And so that would get added to her bank balance, and so she would now have a balance of 377. And then away we go.